Hello students, I am Raghavendra Kumar Singh, faculty of US Academy and Institute. Today we will discuss class 8 history's second chapter from trade to territory. In this chapter we will discuss about the Britishers. Why did they come? They originally come as a small trading company and were reluctant to acquire territories. How then they come to be masters of a vast empires? How this come about and how East India Company came into power? How their trade expanded? How new rules for business were implemented? And also about the battles of Plassey. The last powerful Mughal ruler was Aurangzeb, and after his death in 1707, many Mughal governors, means Subedar and big Zamindar, began asserting their authority and establishing regional kingdoms. By the second half of the 18th century, a new power emerges on the political horizon, named the British. East India Company comes east. The East India Company in 16th century acquired a charter from the ruler of England, Queen Elizabeth I, granting the company sole right to trade with the East. According to the charter, the company could venture across the ocean, looking for new land to buy goods at a cheaper price and carry them back to Europe to sell at higher prices. The Portuguese established their presence on the western coast of India and had their base in Goa. By the early 17th century, the Dutch were exploring the possibilities of trade in the Indian Ocean, and very soon the French arrived on the scene. All the companies were interested in buying the same thing: the fine quality of cotton, silk, pepper, cloves, cardamom, and cinnamon were in great demand. The urge to secure market led to fierce battles between the trading companies. Trade was carried on with arms, and trading posts were protected through fortification. East India Company began trade in Bengal. In 1651, the first English factory was set up. It was the base from which the company traders, known as factors, operated. In the warehouse of the factory, goods for export were stored. The company by 1696 built a fort around the settlement. The company continuously tried to press for more concession and manipulate existing privilege. How trade led to battle. The conflict between the company and the Nawabs of Bengal intensified. The Bengal Nawab refused to grant the company concession. demanding large tributes for the company right to trade, denied it any right to mint coins, and stopped it for extending its fortification. They also claimed that the company was depriving the Bengal government of a huge amount of revenue and undermining the authority of the Nawabs. The conflict led to confrontation and finally culminated in the famous Battle of Plassey. The Battle of Plassey. In 1756, Ali Vardi Khan died and Sirajuddaulah became the Nawab of Bengal. The company tried to help one of Sirajuddaullah's rivals to become the Nawab. After Sirajuddaulah came to know about the company's strategy, he asked them to stop meddling in their political affairs, stop fortification, and pay the revenues. In 1757, Robert Clive led the company army against Sirajuddaulah at Plassey. The main reason for the defeat was that the forces led by Mir Jafar never fought the battle. The Battle of Plassey became famous because it was the first major victory the company won in India. The prime objective of the company was the expansion of trade. If it can be done without conquest through the help of local rulers, then territory need not be taken over directly. But very soon the company discovers that this was rather difficult. In 1765, the Mughal emperor appointed the company as the Diwan of the provinces of Bengal. It allowed the company to use the vast revenue source of Bengal. From the early 18th century, the company trade with India had expanded. Goods from India had to be brought, and gold and silvers imported from Britain. Company officials become Nabobs. After the Battle of Plassey, the company officials forced the actual Nawabs of Bengal to give lands and vast sum of money as a personal gifts. When Robert Clive left India, his Indian fortune was worth 4,01,102 in 1764. He was appointed as the governor of Bengal and was asked to remove corruption in company administration. Many company officials died on early death in India due to disease and war. Some of the officials came from humble background and their desire was to earn enough in India, return to Britain and lead a comfortable life. Those who managed to return with wealth were called Nabobs, an anglicized version of the Indian word Nawab. Company rule expanded. After analyzing the process of annexation of India states by the East India Company from 1757 to 1857, certain key aspects emerge. The company rarely launched direct military attacks on an unknown territory. It alternately used a variety of political economic, and diplomatic method to extend its influence before annexing an Indian kingdom. After the Battle of Buxar, the company appointed resident in Indian states. They were political or to serve and further the interest of the company. Subsidiary alliances means Indian rulers were not allowed to have their independence armed forces. They were to be protected by the company, but had to pay for the subsidiary forces that the company was supposed to maintain for the purpose of this protection. If the Indian rulers failed to make the payment, then part of their territory was taken away as a penalty. Tipu Sultan, the Tiger of Mysore. Mysore, under the leadership of powerful ruler like Hyder Ali, ruled from 1761 to 1782, and his famous son Tipu Sultan, ruled from 1782 to 1799, had grown in strength. It controlled the profitable trade of the Malabar coast, where the company purchased pepper and cardamom. Tipu Sultan in 1785 stopped the export of sandalwood, pepper, and cardamom. The company fought 4 wars with Mysore in 1767 to 69, 1780 to 84, 1790 to 92, and 1799. Finally, in the last, the Battle of Sringapatnam, the company achieved victory. War with the Marathas. The company from the late 18th century was planning to destroy Maratha power. Third Battle of Panipat in 1761. The Marathas were defeated and their dream of ruling from Delhi was shattered. They were divided into many states under different chief, means Sardar, belonging to dynasties such as Sindhia, Holkar, Gaikwad, and Bhosle. These chiefs were held together under a Peshwa, means the principal minister, who became its effective military and administrative head based in Pune. Marathas were indulged in a series of wars. The first war ended in 1782 with the Treaty of Salbai. There was no clear victory. The Second Anglo-Maratha War, 1803 to 1805, was fought on different fronts, resulting in the British gaining Odisha and the territory north of the Yamuna River, including Agra and Delhi. Finally, Third Anglo-Maratha War of 1817 to 19 crushed Maratha power. The claim to paramountcy. Paramountcy, a new policy, was initiated under Lord Hastings, Governor General from 1813 to 1823. The company claimed that its power was greater than that of Indian states. In the late 1830s, the East India Company became worried about Russia. It imagined that Russia might expand across Asia and enter India from the northwest. The company fought a prolonged war with Afghanistan between 1838 and 1842 and established indirect company rule there. Punjab was annexed in 1849 after two prolonged war. The doctrine of lapse. Under Lord Dalhousie, who was the Governor General from 1848 to 1856, the final wave of annexation occurred. The doctrine of lapse is a policy devised by him which declared that if an Indian ruler died without male heir, his kingdom would lapse, that is, become part of company territory. In 1856, the company took over Awadh, enraged by the humiliating way in which the Nawab was deposed. The people of Awadh joined the Great Revolt that broke out in 1857. Setting up a new administration. Warren Hastings, Governor General from 1773 to 1785, played a significant role in the expansion of company power. During his time, the company had acquired power in Bengal, Bombay, and Madras. British territory were broadly divided into administrative units called presidencies. There were three presidencies: Bengal, Madras, and Bombay. Each was ruled by a governor. From 1772, a new system of justice was established. According to the new system, each district needed to have two courts. A criminal court, means the Faujdari Adalat, and a civil court, means the Diwani Adalat. The Brahman Pandits have different interpretation of local laws based on different schools of the Dharmashastra. To bring uniformity, in 1775, 11 Pandits were asked to compile a digest of Hindu law. By 1778, a code of Muslim law was also compiled from the benefit of a European judge. Under the Regulating Act of 1773, a new Supreme Court was established, while a Court of Appeal, the Sadar Nizamat Adalat, was also set up at Calcutta. The collector was the principal figure in an Indian district. His job was to collect revenue and taxes and maintain law and order in his district with the help of judges, police officers, and darogas. The company army. In India, colonial rule brought some new ideas of administration and reforms. The Mughal army, composed of cavalry, sawar, trained soldiers on horseback, and infantry, that is pedal, foot soldiers. The army of the Mughal was dominated by cavalry. In the 18th century, change occurred when Mughal successor stated with Awadh and Banaras started recruiting peasants into their armies and training them as professional soldiers. The East India Company adopted the same method, which come to known as the Sepoy Army, from the Indian word Sipahi, meaning soldier. In the early 19th century, the British began to develop a uniform military culture. Soldiers were subjected to European-style training, drill and discipline that regulated their life for more than before. Now the conclusion. The East India Company was transformed from a trading company to a territory colonial power. In the early 19th century, new steam technology arrived. By 1857, the company came to exercise direct rule over about 63% of the territory and 78% of the population of the Indian subcontinent.